Daughter abandons father in a ghost town, but when she discovers the inheritance, Walter Reynolds had been waiting for 3 days in the central square of Millfield Creek. His legs ached, his throat was dry, but he refused help from anyone. It was there, on that cracked wooden bench, that his daughter Jennifer had left him with a promise to return in a few hours. She needed to handle some problems in the capital, she'd said. Urgent matters that couldn't wait. "Dad, you'll be fine here. It's just for today, I swear." Walter had agreed. After all, it had been his idea to come to this town. Jennifer didn't understand why, and he hadn't explained. He'd only said he needed to be there, in that specific place, after so many years. Now the sun beat down mercilessly. Few people passed through the square. The town was a shadow of what it once was. Old mansions shuttered, empty streets, scarce commerce. Millfield Creek was one of those places time forgot, where young people fled seeking future, and the elderly remained trapped in memories. A woman approached for the 3rd time. She appeared to be in her mid-60s, greying hair tied in a simple bun. "Mr. Reynolds, you need to get out of this sun. Come to my shop, at least for some fresh water." "I don't need anything, Miss Dorothy. I've told you my name twice already." "Miss Dorothy, then. Thank you, but I'll stay here." "Your daughter isn't coming back today, you know that, right?" Walter didn't answer. He just tightened his grip on the handle of one of the old suitcases beside him. Inside them he kept what remained of an entire lifetime. Clothes, some documents, yellowed photographs, and papers Jennifer didn't even know existed. "Why do you insist on staying here?" Dorothy asked, sitting beside him without asking permission. "I have my reasons. Reasons that include nearly fainting from heat stroke? I've been through worse." Dorothy sighed. She recognized stubbornness when she saw it. She'd lived in Millfield Creek her whole life, had seen the town prosperous, and had watched it decay. She knew how to recognize when someone carried the weight of untold stories. "Did your daughter call?" "No." "Do you have a cell phone?" "I do." Walter touched the pocket of the dark coat he wore despite the heat. "But she didn't call." "And did you call her?" Silence. "I see." Dorothy stood up. "My shop is right there on the corner. I sell a bit of everything, make hot meals for some truckers passing through. If you change your mind, just stop by." Walter nodded, a minimal gesture that could mean either gratitude or dismissal. Dorothy walked away, looking back one last time before disappearing down the dusty street. The afternoon slowly faded. Walter didn't move. Occasionally, someone passed by and cast curious glances. A small town always noticed strangers, especially an old man sitting in the square for days with 2 old suitcases. When the sun began to set, tinting the sky orange and red, Walter finally stood up. His legs protested, stiff after so many hours in the same position. He picked up the suitcases and walked slowly to the only boarding house still operating in Millfield Creek. The boarding house owner, a thin woman named Mildred, barely looked at him when she handed over the room key. "Payment in advance." "I know." Walter climbed the creaking stairs to the 2nd floor. The room was small and simple. A bed, an old wardrobe, a window overlooking the main street, or what remained of it. He placed the suitcases on the bed and opened one. He took out a yellowed envelope protected by plastic. Inside, old documents, property deeds, 4 mansions in the central region of Millfield Creek, all registered in his name since the 1960s. Properties nobody knew existed, not even Jennifer. Walter put the envelope away again and lay down on the bed without removing his shoes. The exhaustion was deep, but sleep wouldn't come. He thought about his daughter, about the excuses she would invent when she finally returned. If she even would return. He closed his eyes and let the memories come. Memories of another time, when Millfield Creek still had life. When he was young and had made mistakes, he would spend the rest of his existence trying to understand. On the 4th day, Jennifer still hadn't given any sign of life. Walter went back to the square. He sat on the same bench. He waited. Dorothy appeared before noon, carrying a lunchbox covered with a cloth. "I brought lunch, and before you refuse, I'm not asking for permission. You're going to eat." She opened the lunchbox, revealing rice, beans, a piece of chicken, and salad. The aroma made Walter's stomach growl, betraying his attempt to seem indifferent. "You don't need to." "Yes, I do." Dorothy pushed the lunchbox into his hands. "Eat." Walter ate. Each bite seemed more flavorful than the last. He had been eating poorly in recent days, buying stale bread at the bakery that only opened on alternate days. "Why are you doing this?" he asked between bites. "Why wouldn't I?" "You don't know me." "I know enough." Dorothy sat down beside him again. "I know you're waiting for someone who isn't coming. I know you're suffering and don't want to admit it. I know you have heavy secrets and that you came here for some important reason." Walter stopped eating and stared at her. "You think you know a lot about me." "I don't think. I know. I've seen this happen many times. People who come back to Millfield Creek looking for something, some answer, some peace. This town has that effect on people. And you? Why do you stay here?" "Because this is my home. It always has been. My grandmother was born here, my mother was born here, I was born here. Even with the town slowly dying, I can't imagine being anywhere else." Walter finished eating in silence. He returned the empty lunchbox. "Thank you. I'll bring more tomorrow, and it's no use refusing." Dorothy left before he could protest. Walter watched her walk away, a lonely figure walking through streets that had once known movement and life. When night fell, he did something he had been putting off. He took his phone and called Jennifer. He called and called and called. Voicemail. "Jennifer, it's me, your father." His voice came out weaker than he intended. "I'm still in Millfield Creek, waiting for you to come back, as you promised. I need to talk to you about some important things. Call me when you can." He hung up knowing she wouldn't call, not soon at least. The next morning, Walter woke up with a different plan. Instead of going straight to the square, he walked through the deserted streets of Millfield Creek. He passed by the closed-up mansions, the windows covered with boards, the peeling walls. He stopped in front of a two-story townhouse, old tiles still visible under the accumulated grime. That was one of his properties. According to the documents, he had owned that building for over 50 years. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. A faded sign still hung above the door. He couldn't read what it said, but he remembered. It had been a fabric store, then a warehouse, then nothing. Just dust and silence. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Walter turned around. Dorothy was there as if she had appeared out of nowhere. "Are you following me?" "No, I was just passing by." She looked at the townhouse. "This building has history. They say it used to be the busiest place in town." "When was that?" "The 60s, 70s, before I was born, but my mother told me. There was a dance every Saturday on the second floor. People from all over the region came to dance here." Walter said nothing. He swallowed the words that wanted to come out. "Do you know this place?" Dorothy asked, noticing something in his expression. "I've been here before. It's been a long time." "When?" "Another lifetime." Dorothy didn't press. She just stood beside him, watching the building in silence. After a few minutes, she spoke. "You know what makes me sad? Seeing all this dying. Millfield Creek used to be special. It wasn't big, never was, but it had soul. People knew each other, helped each other. Now only old folks like me are left, waiting for the end. Not everything that dies stays dead forever." Pretty words, but I need more than words. I need miracles. Dorothy gave a half-bitter smile. "And miracles don't happen in places like this." She said goodbye and left. Walter stayed a few more minutes looking at the townhouse, then returned to the boarding house. He was climbing the stairs when Mildred called him. "There's a woman looking for you," Walter's heart raced. "My daughter?" "I don't know. She didn't give a name. She's waiting over there in the square." Walter went down the stairs faster than his legs allowed. He crossed the street, entered the square. But it wasn't Jennifer waiting. It was a younger woman, maybe around 40, dressed too formally for that place. "Mr. Walter Reynolds?" "Yes. My name is Amanda Wilson. I'm a lawyer. I'd like to talk to you about some properties." Walter felt the ground slip from under his feet. How do you know about the properties? Registry office. It's public information for those who know where to look. Amanda smiled professionally. May I sit? She didn't wait for an answer, sat on the bench and opened a folder. You own 4 properties in the central area of Millfield Creek. Old properties, vacant for decades, correct? So what? So what is that? There's an urban revitalization project being planned for this region. Tax incentives, private investments. These properties could be worth a lot of money, Mr. Walter. A whole lot. I'm not interested in selling. You don't even know how much I came to offer. The amount doesn't matter. These properties are not for sale. Amanda closed the folder slowly. May I ask why? They're abandoned buildings in a dying town. You don't even live here. You could sell, make a fortune and live comfortably for the rest of your life. I have my reasons. Sentimental reasons. That's none of your business. Amanda sighed. I'll leave my card. She extended a white rectangle with gold letters. Think about it. The offer is generous, and if you change your mind, I won't change it. You never know. She stood up, adjusted her purse on her shoulder. My phone number is there. If anything, just call. Walter took the card just to make her leave. As soon as Amanda disappeared down the street, he tore the card into little pieces and threw it on the ground. But her words kept echoing in his mind. A lot of money, a fortune, revitalization project. And then, as if the universe was conspiring against him, his phone rang. It was Jennifer. Dad? Her voice sounded distant, artificial. Where are you? It's been almost a week. I know. Sorry. Some complications came up here. Problems with the bank. You know how it is. No, I don't. You left me here, Jennifer. You promised to come back. And I will come back. I just need a few more days. More days? How many? I'm not sure. A week, maybe. Jennifer, I can't stay here another week. I'm out of money without... You do have money. You brought the card, didn't you? I did, but... Then use it. Withdraw money from the ATM. Pay the boarding house. Buy food. I'll pay you back later. It's not about the money, it's about... Dad, I have to go. Kiss. Call me if you need anything. And she hung up, just like that, without giving him a chance to respond, without hearing what he had to say. Walter stood looking at the phone in his hand, feeling a void growing inside his chest. It was no surprise. He knew Jennifer was like that. He had raised her that way after all. Distant, focused on his own problems, unable to see beyond his own navel, but it still hurt. It always hurt. Dorothy appeared in the square shortly after, as if she had a sixth sense for knowing when he needed company. You look like someone who got bad news. My daughter won't be back any time soon. I figured. Dorothy sat down beside him. Do you want to talk about it? There's not much to say. She's busy with her own life, as she always has been. And you? Are you going to keep waiting? What else can I do? Live, Dorothy said simply. Stop sitting in this square like a condemned man waiting for sentencing. Do something useful while you're here. Like what? I don't know. What do you like to do? Walter thought. It had been so long since anyone asked him that. So long that he himself didn't think about it. I used to like walking, seeing new places. Then walk. Millfield Creek is small, but it has its charms. The cemetery, for example. It's old, has graves from 150 years ago, stories carved in stone. The cemetery. Walter felt a shiver. Maybe I'll go there, one of these days. Go. It's good for the soul to see that we're not the only ones with stories to tell. Dorothy said goodbye and went back to her shop. Walter was alone again, thinking about her words. The cemetery. He had avoided thinking about it since he arrived, but he knew sooner or later he would have to go. The next day, he gathered his courage. The cemetery was on the outskirts of town, on slightly elevated ground. Rusty iron gates, low walls covered in moss. A few old trees offered shade to the graves. Walter entered slowly. There was no one around, just him and the dead. He walked among the graves, reading names, dates, lives summarized in a few words carved in marble or granite. Born, lived, departed, as if it were that simple. He stopped in front of a specific grave. It had no name, just a birth date and a death date, and a simple phrase, "Waited until the end." Walter knelt. His old legs protested, but he ignored the pain. He placed his hand on the cold stone. "I'm sorry." His voice was a whisper. "I'm sorry for everything, for leaving, for not coming back, for being a coward." The words hung in the air. No one answered, only the wind through the trees, a sad and lonely sound. He stayed there for a long time. When he finally got up, his clothes were dirty with earth, his knees sore, but something inside him felt a little lighter. He returned to the boarding house and took a long shower. Afterwards, he lay on the bed and thought about everything that had happened, about the lawyer, the offer, about Jennifer, and about Dorothy, who showed up every day with food and company without asking for anything in return. At dinner, he went down to the small room in the boarding house where Mildred served meals to the few guests. There were only two other people there, a truck driver and a street vendor. "Mildred, can I ask you something?" The boarding house owner looked up from the stove. "Depends on the question. Dorothy, the shop owner there on the corner, does she have family?" "She did. Her husband ran off about 15 years ago with a woman from out of town. Her son left to look for work in the capital and never came back. Now she's alone. And yet she stays here. She has nowhere else to go, and she has the shop. It's not much, but it's something." Walter ate in silence, thinking. Dorothy had lost everything and still found the strength to help a stranger, while Jennifer, who had everything, could barely make a phone call. The days went by, 1 week, 2. Jennifer called from time to time, always with excuses, always promising to come back soon, but never coming. Walter established a routine. He woke up early, had coffee at the boarding house, walked around town. He visited the cemetery every day in the late afternoon. He stayed there, talking to a nameless grave, telling things he had never told anyone. And Dorothy kept showing up, bringing food, chatting, keeping him company. "You know, Mr. Reynolds," she said one afternoon, "you're the most mysterious person I've ever met." "Why?" "Because you've been here almost a month and I still don't know anything about you. Where you came from, what you do, why you chose Millfield Creek. There isn't much to know. Everyone has a story. It's just that some keep theirs better than others." Walter fell silent. Dorothy didn't press him, as she always did. She just sat beside him, watching the sparse activity in the square. "Can I ask you something?" Walter said suddenly. "Sure. Why are you so kind to me? You don't know me. You owe me nothing." Dorothy thought before answering. "Because I've been invisible too. When my husband left, people turned their backs. They said I should have held on to him better, that I should have been a better wife, as if it were my fault." She took a deep breath. "I learned that kindness doesn't need a reason, and that sometimes the most important thing we can do is be present when someone needs it." Walter felt a lump in his throat. He turned his face away so she wouldn't see the emotion in his eyes. "Thank you." "No need to thank me. Just don't ask me to stop." They laughed. It was a brief but genuine moment. That night, Walter's phone rang late. He was almost asleep when the shrill sound cut through the silence. It was Jennifer. "Dad, sorry to call so late." "What time is it?" "Almost midnight. Look, I need to tell you something." Her tone of voice was different, more excited, almost euphoric. "What?" "Those financial problems I was having? I found a solution." "That's good. And this solution involves you." Walter sat up in bed, fully awake now. "How so?" "You have some properties in Millfield Creek, don't you?" The world stopped. How did she know? "Who told you?" "A lawyer contacted me. Amanda something. Said you own some old buildings there in town and that they could be worth a fortune." "And why did she call you?" "Because she said you refused her offer, so she decided to contact me. Found my information through who knows what. And you answered." "Of course I answered, Dad. Don't you get it? This could be the solution to my problems, to our problems. We sell these properties, split the money, and that's it." "I'm not selling." "What? Why?" "Because I'm not." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer you'll get. Dad, you're being irrational. They're abandoned buildings in a dying town. What difference does it make? It makes a difference to me. Why? What's the mystery? Why are you so attached to these places? I have my reasons. Reasons that are more important than your own daughter, than my problems? Walter felt anger rising in his chest. Your problems were always just yours, Jennifer. You never asked for help. You never wanted advice, always knew everything, always so independent. And now, suddenly, when an inheritance appears, I become important. Silence on the other end. It's not like that, Jennifer said finally, but her voice came out weak. It's exactly like that. You left me here almost a month ago. A month, Jennifer. Promised to be back in a few hours and disappeared, only showed up when you heard about money. I was having problems. And I wasn't? Alone in a strange town with no one? You chose to be there. You're the one who insisted on going to that forgotten place. And didn't you wonder why? Didn't you want to know the reason? I was busy. Too busy to care about your father. But now that there's money involved, suddenly you have plenty of time. It's not fair for you to say that. Not fair? You want to know what's not fair, Jennifer? It's not fair for you to show up only when you need something. It's not fair for you to treat me like a burden my whole life and now pretend to care. He heard a sob from the other side. But he felt no pity. He only felt tiredness. Dad, I'm not selling the properties. And this conversation is over. He hung up the phone. His hands were shaking. His heart was beating fast. But there was a strange feeling of relief. He had said things he had kept inside for years. The phone rang again, and again, and again. Walter turned it off and put it on silent. The next morning, he woke up with a headache. He went down to the boarding house coffee and found Dorothy waiting for him. I thought today we could do something different, she said. Instead of staying at the square, how about a walk? Where to? I want to show you something. They walked through the streets of Millfield Creek, Dorothy in front, Walter behind. She took him to one of the mansions he owned, a 3-story building with a colonial balcony. Did you know this place used to be a school? Dorothy asked. Walter stopped. No, he didn't know. My mother studied here. She said it was the most beautiful school in the area. There was a huge garden in the back, fruit trees, a playground. Dorothy touched the peeling wall affectionately. It closed in the 80s. Lack of students, lack of money. It became just another abandoned building. Why are you telling me this? Because I think you should know. These places have history. They mean something to the people who still live here. Walter looked at the building. He tried to imagine children running, laughing, playing, but he could only see ruins. Dorothy, can I ask you something? You always can. Your mother, is she still alive? No, she passed away about 10 years ago. What was her name? Dorothy hesitated, sensing something strange in the question. Evelyn. Evelyn Parker. Why? Walter felt the world spinning. Evelyn, the name engraved in his memory, the name he whispered in nightmares. Mr. Walter. Dorothy held his arm. Are you okay? You've gone pale. Evelyn Parker, he repeated, his voice weak. Born in 1950. Yes, how do you know? Walter leaned against the building's wall. His legs couldn't hold him up anymore. Because I knew your mother. A long time ago. Dorothy's eyes widened. Knew how? We were close. Before I left Millfield Creek. Left? You lived here? I did. In the 60s. I worked in commerce, had plans, dreams. And I met Evelyn. He closed his eyes. We fell in love. She was the most beautiful, kindest person I had ever met. Dorothy stayed silent, processing. And then? Then I got a job offer in another city, a big opportunity, a chance to grow, to make money. Evelyn was pregnant. His voice broke. I promised I would come back, that I would get her and the baby as soon as I settled in the new place. But you didn't come back. I didn't come back. Tears began to stream down Walter's wrinkled face. I made excuses. There was always a reason to postpone. First it was work. Then I met another woman, married again, had another daughter, and with time I stopped thinking about Evelyn, about the baby I left behind. I pretended that life had never existed. Dorothy took a step back. You're my grandfather. I am. Walter looked at her through the tears. And I didn't even know you existed until now. Evelyn had the baby. She did. My mother, Margaret. Dorothy had tears in her eyes too. She grew up without a father. My grandmother Evelyn never married again. She spent her life waiting for you to come back, even when it no longer made sense to wait. She worked cleaning houses, sewing, doing odd jobs to support her daughter, and she never spoke ill of you. She said you had your reasons, that one day you would explain. She waited for me, until she died. The unmarked grave in the cemetery is hers. My mother buried her there. She didn't want to put a name because she said her grandmother had spent her life as invisible, forgotten by the man she loved, so the grave would be the same. Walter broke down. He fell to his knees right there on the sidewalk, sobbing. All those years, all that wasted time. Evelyn had waited, and he never came back. Dorothy stood still, not knowing what to do. Part of her wanted to comfort, but another part felt anger. Anger at that man who had abandoned her grandmother, destroyed her life. "Why come back now?" she asked, her voice hard. "After all these years?" "Because I'm dying," Walter said between sobs. "The doctors said I have at most a year, cancer, and before I go I needed to at least see this place again. Apologize, even if it was too late." Dorothy stepped back. "It is too late. My grandmother suffered her whole life because of you. My mother grew up without a father, she suffered too, and now you show up at the end of your life wanting what? Forgiveness? Absolution? I don't want anything. I know I don't deserve it. I wanted someone to know the truth, that I'm sorry, that I spent my whole life knowing I had made the worst mistake possible. Knowing doesn't change anything. I know." Walter got up with difficulty. "That's why I bought these properties. When I found out that that she was no longer here, I looked for a way to make up for it. I know it doesn't make up for anything, but I wanted to do something. I wanted these buildings to become something useful, something that would help the people here, as a way to honor her memory. That's why you don't want to sell. Yes, these buildings are all I can leave behind. If I sell them, they'll become investments, speculation. But if I turn them into something good, maybe, just maybe, I can die in peace." Dorothy turned her back. She started to walk away but stopped. "I need time to process this. I understand. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I want to. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just telling the truth." Dorothy left without looking back. Walter stayed there alone, looking at the building that was once a school. He imagined Evelyn raising her daughter alone, working hard, waiting for a man who would never return. He went back to the boarding house and locked himself in his room. He didn't come out all day. Mildred knocked on the door at dinner time, but he didn't answer. The phone rang several times. Jennifer. He didn't answer. In the early hours he heard knocks on the bedroom door. "Mr. Walter?" It was Dorothy's voice. Open the door, please." He opened it. She had red eyes, as if she had cried a lot. "Can we talk?" They went down to the empty living room of the boarding house. Dorothy poured coffee for both of them. They were silent for a while, just drinking the hot liquid. "I spent the whole night thinking," Dorothy began, "about my grandmother, my mother, you, about choices and consequences. And I realized that holding on to anger won't change anything. It won't bring anyone back. It won't fix the past. You don't have to forgive me. I know. And I don't know if I forgive you. But I can understand." She looked at him. "You made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But at least now you're trying to do something about it. It's little, very little. It's what you have." Dorothy sighed. "Tell me about this plan. What do you want to do with the properties?" Walter told her. He wanted to turn the buildings into housing for low-income families. Renovate them, make them decent, rent them out for symbolic amounts. Create a small social project that would give new life to those abandoned spaces. And how do you plan to do that without money? I have some savings, not much, but something. And I can take out loans using the properties themselves as collateral. You'll need help. Someone who knows the town, the people, who knows how to manage a project like this. I know. I'm offering, Dorothy said. Not for you, but for my grandmother's memory. She would have liked to see something good come out of all this. You would do that? I would. With conditions. What are they? First, you tell your daughter everything, the whole truth. Second, you give me full autonomy to manage the project. Third, when you leave, I'll continue the work. It's recorded at the notary's office, documented. No turning back. Walter extended his hand. I accept all the conditions. They shook hands. A silent pact, sealed there in the early morning between two people united by a history of abandonment and redemption. In the following days, they began to work. Dorothy brought contacts, people who could help, unemployed bricklayers who agreed to work for low prices, suppliers who gave discounts. The small community of Millfield Creek began to mobilize, curious about what that old man and that woman were planning. Walter called Jennifer. She answered on the first ring. Dad, finally, I was worried. Jennifer, I need to talk to you in person. About the properties. About everything. I can come there tomorrow. I managed to solve my problems with the bank. I finally have time. Come. Jennifer arrived the next day driving an imported car. She parked in front of the boarding house and got out in high heels that sank into the dirt road. Dad! She hugged him, but the hug was mechanical. Wow, you look different. I'm older. It's not that. You seem lighter, I don't know. Walter took her to meet Dorothy. He introduced the two. Dorothy is helping me with a project. Project? Jennifer raised an eyebrow. What project? I'm going to turn the properties into affordable housing. Jennifer's face hardened. What? Dad, we talked about this. No, you talked, I didn't agree. But they're your properties. You can't just throw money away. I'm not throwing it away. I'm giving it purpose. Purpose? Jennifer looked around, seeing the decaying town. What purpose can there be in a place like this? You wouldn't understand. No, or you don't want me to understand. Dorothy noticed the tension and stepped away, giving space to father and daughter. Jennifer, sit here, I need to tell you a story. And Walter told her everything. About Evelyn, about abandoning her when she was pregnant, about building a new life pretending the previous one didn't exist, about Dorothy being his granddaughter, about the remorse he carried for decades. Jennifer listened in silence. When he finished, she was pale. You had another daughter before me? I did. Margaret. Dorothy's mother. She's passed away. And you never told me. I was ashamed. I was afraid. Afraid of what? That you would see me as I really am. A coward. A man who ran from responsibilities, who abandoned people who depended on him. Jennifer was quiet for a long time. Is that why you were always so distant with me? Because you felt guilty? Maybe. I don't know. Guilt turned me into someone I didn't want to be. And I ended up repeating the same mistakes. I was absent with you too, in my own way. I always thought you didn't care. I did care. I just didn't know how to show it. I was too busy running from my past to build a decent present. Jennifer stood up, walked to the window, looked at the empty street. So the properties are your way of redeeming yourself. They're my way of trying to do something right before I die. She turned abruptly. Die? I'm sick, Jennifer. I don't have much time. How long? Less than a year, according to the doctors. Jennifer covered her mouth with her hands. Tears began to fall. You weren't going to tell me? I was. Eventually. When? At the funeral? I don't know. I'm still learning to deal with it. She sat down again, closer to him this time. That's why you wanted to come here, to make peace with the past. Yes. And I abandoned you here, worried only about my problems. Her voice broke. I'm just like you, aren't I? Don't say that, but it's true. I only think about myself. I only care about money, about solving my problems. I didn't even ask how you were, what you needed. I only showed up when I heard about the inheritance. You had your reasons. No, I didn't. I was selfish. She held his hand. I'm sorry, Dad, for everything. Walter squeezed his daughter's hand. It was the first time in years they'd felt a real connection. There's still time to change. How? Stay here with me. Help me with the project. You know, Dorothy, you know the people. Be part of something that will last beyond me. Jennifer hesitated. She looked out the window again, seeing Millfield Creek with new eyes. I can try. That's all I ask. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The following days were filled with intense work. Jennifer settled into the boarding house, in the room next to her father's. She woke up early, went with Dorothy to assess the properties, make estimates, plan renovations. At first it was difficult. The two women were very different. Dorothy was practical, knew everyone in town, understood how to negotiate. Jennifer was more theoretical, had studied, but lacked experience with ordinary people. You need to stop using fancy words, Dorothy said one day. These people don't understand half the words you use. I'm trying to be clear. You're trying to impress, it's different. Jennifer swallowed her pride. Then teach me. And Dorothy taught her how to talk to the construction workers, how to gain the suppliers' trust, how to understand the real needs of the families who would be helped. Walter watched from afar. His health was gradually worsening, but he insisted on participating in what he could. Some mornings he woke up strong, others he could barely get out of bed. Dad, you need to rest more, Jennifer would say. I'll have plenty of time to rest soon. Don't talk like that. It's the truth, Jennifer, and the more time I spend in bed, the less time I have to see this happen. The first property to be renovated was the old fabric store building. They chose it because it was the smallest, easiest to work on. They would turn it into 3 small but decent apartments. Construction began. The sound of hammers, saws, drills. The whole town stopped to watch. After all, nothing new had happened in Millfield Creek for decades. Do you really think this will work? Mildred asked one night at dinner. I don't know, Walter answered honestly. But I have to try. Why didn't you sell? They say a bankrupt businessman from another state is offering 3 times the value. Because money can't buy peace of mind. Mildred shook her head but smiled. You're a strange man, Mr. Walter, but I like that. The renovations progressed, but problems arose. Old pipes that needed replacing, part of the roof compromised, cracks in the walls. The budget was tight. We're going to need more money, Dorothy said in a meeting with Walter and Jennifer. How much? At least another 20,000, Walter sighed. He didn't have another 20,000. He had spent almost all his savings. What if we arrange installments with the suppliers? Jennifer suggested. They're already on installments. We need cash. Then I'll sell the car, Jennifer said suddenly. The two looked at her, surprised. The car? Walter asked. Yes, I don't need it here, and it will cover the costs. Jennifer, you love that car. Loved, she smiled. But now I have more important things to worry about. She sold the car the following week. The money came in, and the work continued. Walter felt his chest tighten, seeing his daughter's gesture. She was changing for real. One day, Dorothy took Jennifer to meet the families who would live in the renovated apartments. The first was Sharon, a woman in her early 40s with 3 children. I used to rent, but the owner sold the property, Sharon explained. I was evicted 2 months ago. Now I'm with the kids at my mum's house, all sleeping in the same room. Jennifer heard the story and felt something stir inside her. That woman had real problems. Not bank or investment problems, but survival problems. And the children's father? He left when he found out about the 3rd pregnancy. I never saw him again. Jennifer thought of Walter, how he had abandoned Evelyn, how patterns repeated themselves, generation after generation. What kind of work do you do? Cleaning. Houses, stores, whatever comes up. But there's little work here. Sometimes I go weeks without earning anything. And you still stay here? Where would I go? I don't have money to move. And my mother is here. She's old now. She can't be alone. Jennifer understood. Understood that life wasn't just about choices, but about circumstances. About being trapped in situations with no apparent way out. You'll have a real home soon, Jennifer promised. A place just for you and your children. Sharon began to cry. Really? You're not lying? It's true. My father and Dorothy are renovating an apartment for you. Symbolic rent, just to cover basic maintenance. I don't know how to thank you. No need to thank me. Just take good care of the place. And when you can, help someone else too. Pass the kindness along. When they left Sharon's house, Jennifer was quiet. Dorothy noticed. First time you've seen real poverty? No, but the first time I've really paid attention. It makes a difference, doesn't it? Seeing that people have stories, that they're not just numbers or statistics. It does. Jennifer stopped walking. Dorothy, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Do you hate me? For being the daughter of the man who abandoned your grandmother? Dorothy thought before answering. No. At first, maybe. When I found out who your father was, I felt angry. But angry at what? You weren't to blame. Nobody chooses the family they're born into. But I could be a better daughter. We all could be better. What's important is to recognize that and try to change. Do you think I'm changing? I do. You sold your car. You've been here for weeks, away from your life. You're listening to stories from people you didn't even know. That's change. Jennifer smiled. It was a small smile, but genuine. The weeks passed. The first property was ready. 3 small apartments, but well made. Painted walls, new floors, working plumbing. It wasn't luxury, but it was dignified. They held a simple ceremony. The 3 families who would live there were invited. Sharon and her children, an elderly couple, and a young single mother with a baby. Walter handed over the keys personally, but he was visibly weaker. The cancer was advancing. Even so, he smiled. This is just the beginning, he told the families. We're going to renovate the other buildings too. More people will have a home. The families cried. They thanked him repeatedly. Sharon's children ran to explore the new apartment, shouting with joy. Jennifer watched everything with tears in her eyes. Dorothy approached. Beautiful, isn't it? Yes, very. Was it worth staying? It was. Jennifer wiped her tears. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm doing something that really matters. That night at the boarding house, Walter fell ill. Jennifer ran to his room when she heard noise. She found her father on the floor trying to get up. Dad, what happened? I got up too fast. Dizziness. I'm taking you to the hospital. No, there's nothing they can do. At least to examine you, give you pain medication. Jennifer, I'm dying. Medication only delays the inevitable. Don't talk like that. It's the truth. He sat on the bed with her help. And it's okay. I've done what I came to do. But there are the other buildings. The project isn't finished yet. You and Dorothy will finish it. I trust you. I don't want to do this without you. Walter held his daughter's face. You're stronger than you think. You always were. You just needed a reason to prove it. You are my reason. No. The reason is out there. It's about those families, those children. It's about making a difference in the lives of people in need. That's the reason. Jennifer hugged her father, and they stayed like that for a long time. The following days were difficult. Walter's condition worsened, but he refused to go to the hospital. He said he wanted to stay there, in Millfield Creek, until the end. Dorothy visited him daily. She brought soups, teas, natural remedies. They talked about the past, about Evelyn, about regrets. Do you think she forgave me? Walter asked one day. My grandmother, Dorothy thought. I think so. She didn't hold grudges. She was too good for that. I don't deserve forgiveness. No one does. Forgiveness is a gift, not an achievement. Dorothy held his hand. But I think you're on the right path. What you're doing here, this project, it's more than many people do in their entire lives. It's so little. It's what you can give. And that's already a lot. A severe storm hit Millfield Creek. Torrential rain, violent winds. The boarding house suffered some damage. A window broke. Water got into some rooms. Walter and Jennifer were trapped in his room overnight, without power, in the dark, listening to the sound of rain and wind. "Dad, are you scared?" Jennifer asked in the darkness. "Of what?" "Of dying." Walter was quiet for a moment. "I am. But I also have peace. I know I'm leaving something good behind, that my life, even with all the mistakes, will have meaning. I'm scared of you leaving." "I know, but you'll be fine. You have Dorothy now. The two of you together can do amazing things. I wish I had more time with you, to get to know you better, to be a better daughter." "You're already a better daughter. I saw you change these past months. I saw you grow. I'm proud." "Really? Really?" They fell silent. Jennifer held her father's hand in the dark. "Dad, can I confess something?" "Go ahead." "When I came here, when I found out about the properties, I only thought about the money. I was desperate. I thought selling everything would fix my life. But the truth is, my life was a mess because I had forgotten what really matters." "And what matters?" "People, connections, making a difference. You showed me that. You figured it out yourself. I just gave you a nudge." When the storm passed and dawn broke, something had changed between them. The distance that existed for years had lessened. Walter's condition worsened in the following weeks. He could barely get out of bed. Jennifer cared for him with dedication. Dorothy helped, bringing doctors from the neighboring town to at least ease the pain. The renovations on the other buildings continued. Jennifer and Dorothy managed everything. They worked from morning until night, but always found time to visit Walter. "How is the old warehouse?" he would ask. "Almost ready. We'll manage to make 4 apartments there," Dorothy would answer. "And the old school?" "That one will take longer. But we're thinking of making a community space on the ground floor, a place for meetings, events, classes." Walter smiled. "You're doing better than I imagined." One day a man arrived in Millfield Creek. Formal attire, expensive briefcase. He looked for Jennifer. "Ma'am, my name is Richard Thompson. I represent a group of investors. We would like to make an offer for the properties." Jennifer received him in the boarding house's living room. "The properties are not for sale. I understand there is a social project underway. Admirable. But our offer includes maintaining the project, just under professional management." "No. You haven't even heard the amount." "I don't need to hear it. The answer is no." "May I speak with your father?" "My father is very ill, and even if he weren't, the answer would be the same." Richard sighed. "Ma'am, we're talking about an extraordinary sum, enough for you to never have to worry about money again." "And what would I do with all that money?" Jennifer asked. "Buy things I don't need. Live an empty life like I did before." "No, thank you. You're making a mistake." "Maybe, but it's my mistake to make." Richard left, frustrated. Dorothy, who had overheard the conversation, smiled at Jennifer. "Serves him right." It was hard to say no. He offered a lot of money. "But you said it." "I did, because I learned that some things are priceless." Walter had one last temporary improvement. He managed to get out of bed, walk a little. He asked to visit the properties. Dorothy and Jennifer took him. He saw the finished apartments, the happy families. He saw the progress on the other buildings. He saw children playing in the streets that were once empty. "Millfield Creek is coming back to life," Dorothy said. "Thanks to you," Walter replied. "Thanks to you. It was your idea. But you made it a reality." In the old school, now partially renovated, they found a group of women gathered. They were planning to use the community space for craft classes. "We can teach the girls in the area," one of them explained. "Give them an alternative, a way to earn income." Walter felt his eyes well up. This was becoming bigger than he had imagined. It wasn't just about housing. It was about community, about hope, about the future. When they returned to the boarding house, he was exhausted but happy. "Thank you," he said to the 2 women, "for making my last dream come true." "It's not the last," Jennifer protested. "It is, but what a beautiful dream to end with." Walter passed away 3 weeks later. He went to sleep one night and didn't wake up. Jennifer was by his bedside holding his hand. The funeral was simple. Almost all of Millfield Creek attended, not because they had known Walter for a long time, but because they knew what he had done for the town. He was buried in the same cemetery as Evelyn. Jennifer and Dorothy chose a spot near the unmarked grave. "Now they are together," Dorothy said. "Do you think he found peace?" "I think so. In the end, he did the right thing." After the funeral, Jennifer stayed in Millfield Creek. She didn't return to her old life. She took over the project permanently, along with Dorothy. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. It took months, but they finished renovating all the properties. 4 buildings transformed, 18 families housed, a community space in operation. Jennifer sold her apartment in the capital and used part of the money to create a permanent maintenance fund for the project. She bought a simple house in Millfield Creek and moved there for good. "Are you sure about this?" Dorothy asked. "You're leaving everything behind." "I'm not leaving anything behind. I'm building something new." The 2 women became close friends, more than friends, family. Dorothy was the aunt Jennifer never had. Jennifer was the niece Dorothy always wanted. They worked together every day. They managed the properties, helped the families, planned expansions. The project gained attention. Other small towns began asking how to replicate the initiative. 1 year after Walter's passing, they held a project anniversary ceremony. All the families who had benefited were present. Children ran around, laughing. There was food, music, joy. Jennifer watched everything from a distance. Dorothy approached. "Thinking about your father?" "I always think of him." Jennifer smiled. "But today I'm thinking about how happy he would be to see this. He is seeing it, from wherever he is." "Do you believe that?" "I believe the good we do remains, that actions echo. In that sense, he's alive in every brick of these buildings, in every smile of these children." Sharon approached, bringing her 3 children. "Boys, say hello to your aunts." The children hugged Jennifer and Dorothy. The oldest, a 10-year-old girl, handed them a drawing. "I made this for you. It's our home." The drawing showed the renovated building, colorful, happy. In the sky, a huge yellow sun, and next to the sun, a figure that looked like an angel. "Who is that?" Jennifer asked, pointing at the figure. "It's the old man who gave us the house. My mum said he became a star." Jennifer felt tears in her eyes. "Thank you. I'll keep this drawing forever." At night, when everyone had left, Jennifer and Dorothy stayed sitting in the square, the same square where Walter had waited for so long. "You know, I used to hate this place," Jennifer said. "When I came to find my father, I thought Millfield Creek was depressing, a dead town with no future. And now? Now I see I was wrong. It wasn't the town that was dead. It was me. I was living a life without purpose, without meaning. Here, I found both. Your father would be proud. I know, and that makes me happy." Jennifer looked at the starry sky. "Dorothy, can I ask you something?" "Always. Have you forgiven me? Completely?" "For what?" "For being who I was, for only thinking about money when I got here, for not seeing beyond my own nose." Dorothy held her hand. "There's nothing to forgive. You changed. You grew. You became a better person. That's what matters." "Even so, I'm sorry. For everything. I accept. And I thank you for staying, for believing in the project, for being my family. We really are family, aren't we? By blood and by choice. The best combination possible." They stayed there until late, talking about future plans. They wanted to expand the project, renovate more properties in other small towns, create a network of sustainable, affordable housing. "It's going to be a lot of work," Dorothy said. "I know, but I've learned that work with purpose doesn't tire you, it energizes you. Your father taught you well. He taught in his own way, through example, not words." When Jennifer finally returned to her new home in Millfield Creek, she stopped in front of the building where she lived. It was one of the renovated old houses, a simple but cozy space. She thought about how her life had changed. A year ago she was in debt, desperate, selfish. Now she was at peace, fulfilled, part of something bigger. She entered the house and went straight to a small altar she had set up. Photos of Walter, of Evelyn that Dorothy had given her, of Margaret. A candle permanently lit. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on me, for showing me it's never too late to change." She slept well that night. No nightmares, no worries, just the peace of someone who knows they're on the right path. The following months were ones of steady growth. The project won awards from social organizations. Big city newspapers published articles. Ethical investors sought out Jennifer and Dorothy, offering resources to expand. They accepted help, but kept full control. They didn't want the project to turn into a business. They wanted to maintain the essence, the original purpose. Millfield Creek began to prosper again. Young people who had left started returning, seeing opportunities in the reborn town. Businesses opened. The square came back to life. Mildred, from the boarding house, expanded her business. She started receiving more guests, people who came to learn about the project, to learn from it. "Who would have thought," she commented one day to Jennifer, "that stubborn old man who arrived here with 2 old suitcases changed everything." He was special. He really was, and you are too, for seeing what he was trying to do and embracing the cause. Jennifer smiled. She didn't see herself as special. She saw herself only as someone who had learned, late but in time, what really matters in life. One day, a young woman arrived in Millfield Creek looking for Jennifer. She was about 30, with nervous eyes. "Are you Jennifer, who runs the housing project?" "I am. Can I help you?" I'm from another town. I saw in the report about what you do here, and I thought, could I do something similar in my town?" "Of course, come have a seat. Let's talk." Jennifer spent hours explaining the project, showing documents, sharing experiences. The young woman took notes on everything, asking smart questions. "Why do you do this?" the young woman asked at the end. "I mean, it would have been easier to sell everything, keep the money. Money runs out. But the good we do, the impact we make, that lasts forever." Beautiful words. They're not mine, they're from my father. He taught me that shortly before he passed. The young woman left inspired. Weeks later, she called saying she had gotten support in her town to replicate the project. "You've started a movement," Dorothy said when Jennifer told her. "No, we've started a wave." And waves spread. 2 years after Walter's passing, Jennifer was sitting in the square when she saw a scene that made her smile. Sharon and her 3 children were walking happily. The oldest girl was in uniform, heading to school. The younger ones were playing in the street, healthy and well-fed. Sharon saw Jennifer and waved. "Aunt Jen, guess what? I got a steady job." "Really? Where?" "At the school they renovated. I'll work in administration. It's not much, but it's stable." "How wonderful! Congratulations!" "All thanks to you and Mrs. Dorothy. You changed our lives." "No, you changed your own lives. We just gave a hand." Jennifer remained seated there after Sharon left. She looked around, seeing the town that had been reborn. Children in the streets, shops open, people chatting. Life. Dorothy appeared with 2 cups of coffee. "I came to keep you company." "Always welcome." They drank coffee in comfortable silence. After a few minutes, Dorothy spoke. "Are you happy?" "Very. More than I've ever been." Jennifer looked at her. "And you?" "Me too. You know, when I lost my husband, my son, I thought my life was over, that all I had left was to wait for my end. But then your father showed up and everything changed. He had that gift of changing things without realizing it." "He really did." Dorothy smiled. "Sometimes I think about my grandmother, Evelyn, how much she would have loved to see this, to see the grandson she never knew doing good, honoring her memory." "Do you think she forgave him?" "I'm sure. Forgiveness was her nature, and if she hadn't forgiven him in life, she would have forgiven him upon seeing what he did here." Jennifer thought about that. She thought about forgiveness, redemption, second chances. She thought about how life offers opportunities for change, even when it seems too late. "Dorothy, can I say something?" "Go ahead. I love you. Like family, like a friend, like an aunt. I love you." Dorothy felt tears in her eyes. "I love you too." She hugged Jennifer. "My niece by luck, my daughter by choice." They stayed embraced there, two women united by a story of abandonment that turned into a story of love and redemption. That night, Jennifer wrote in her diary, something she started doing after her father passed, recording thoughts, feelings, lessons. "Today marks 2 years since Dad passed. 2 years since I completely changed. Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I had sold the properties, if I had kept the money and returned to my old life. I'd probably be financially comfortable but empty inside. Like I was before, Dad gave me the greatest gift a father can give. Not money, not properties, but purpose. He showed me that our life has meaning when we make a difference in others' lives, that wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in lives touched, smiles generated, hope planted. I learned that it's never too late to change, that we can spend years on the wrong path and still find the right one. That redemption is possible, even when we think we don't deserve it. Dad spent his life carrying guilt for what he did to Evelyn, but in the end, he transformed that guilt into something beautiful, into a legacy, in hope for other people. And me, I spent years being selfish, materialistic, distant, but today I'm different. Today I have a real family in Dorothy. I have purpose in the work I do. I have inner peace. Thank you, Dad, for not giving up on me, for bringing me to Millfield Creek, for showing me that love isn't expressed just in words, but in actions, in sacrifice, in leaving something good behind. I love you, and I will honor your memory every day of my life." She closed the journal and turned off the light. Through the window, she saw the stars shining in the clear sky of Millfield Creek. She imagined one of them being Walter, looking down, smiling at what he had created. She slept in peace, knowing that tomorrow would be another day of work, of purpose, of making a difference. And somewhere between sleep and wakefulness, she thought she heard her father's voice whispering, "I'm proud of you, my daughter. Very proud." End of story. And you, dear listener, what did you think of this story? Did Walter manage to redeem himself for past mistakes? Did Jennifer truly change, or did she still hold traces of her former self? And Dorothy, was she able to completely forgive the man who abandoned her grandmother? Leave your honest opinion in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from and if you've lived or know similar stories of redemption and second chances. We love reading every comment. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional stories we have prepared for you.